All right, so let's take the spoiler gloves off here. Be warned, if you haven't played it yet, probably don't watch this, come back after you play it.
Definitely don't watch this.
I hope you're not watching this, having not played this game.
So, what is your favorite or least favorite decision to make in this episode?
Oof. I think for me, there's two of them. There's the very first one. Do you save the Squire or do you go warn Lord Forrester? Because immediately, like right out of the gate, it's like, look, this is a real thing. There are real consequences here.
And he's
Garrett's
being a jerk to you.
Yeah.
But Garrett's decision there was like, I'm instantly engaged in this. I'm like, this is that hard choice. There's not a right answer. You're going to screw up either way. The second one, the one that I wrestled with the most, and the one that mercifully they give you an infinite amount of time to consider, is who do you appoint as Sentinel, right? Do you go with Royland or do you go with Duncan? And I sat there probably for a good 2 minutes. And I just imagine, like, in the scene, the character's just, like, looking at Ethan as he's, like, staring down at the bracer. Trying
And
to
he's,
figure
like,
out.
moving the bracer like, you? No. Maybe.
I paused for that long, too. And really, my thought process was two things. I was role-playing.
Right.
I wanted to do the right thing, Duncan. And then I also wanted to do something interesting for my game, which was Sir Royland.
Right.
So I didn't that was made the choice hard for me. And then I chose Sir Royland. And then I regretted it, and I made I didn't really regret it, but I made my decisions seem like they were Duncan's decisions. And then there's a little scene where he comes in, he's like, you still seem pretty undecided.
Same thing happened to me.
great.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, they came back and they're like, you seem really confused about what you just did. And I picked him for the same reason, because I thought, I agree with Duncan. I can support Duncan's point of view in my discussions with Sir Royland, but maybe Sir Royland brings something different to the table that will sort of act as a nice balance to me. And then, of course, at the end of the episode, you're like, well, I guess Sir Royland's in charge now.
Yeah, see, and that's my thing. Is like, I didn't hesitate there. Like, that was a really challenging choice where it's like, I hurt Royland, and I think he would be good for the job, but I just think Duncan is right. So I chose Duncan instantly. And then the moment that episode ended and the dagger is in Ethan's throat, I was like, maybe I should have picked Royland. Right. Maybe Royland should be leading us from here on out. I don't know.
Well, that's an interesting question, right? Because I came in and I wasn't sure what everybody else's experience was, because Telltale games, particularly with Walking Dead, like, the choices are really interesting and they matter in terms of providing emotional context, but the plot is kind of on a rail, right?
Yeah.
And I was curious, did everybody end up in that same place? And sure enough, everybody ended up in that same place, but via a different route, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, so, not only is the story going to be on rails, but it also has to adhere to the seasons that we've already seen.
Right.
So you know certain things, like we mentioned before, like Marjorie isn't going to be able to help you right now, so maybe don't side with her.
Right. But so, Mitch, what was your favorite decision?
I think it was the Sentinel choice, just because it's so, it puts Ethan in a really hard position. He's not ready for this, but he has to like kind of put on a face and say like, I can do this, and I need to prove to both of these people that I can do this, but I also need to like pick a favorite. And even though I knew that I wanted Duncan, I still like mentally was just like, that like it hurt to make that choice, which is weird, right? Because it wasn't a life and death choice.
But it is one that will have one of the widest reaching implications.
Exactly. Looking ahead, it is.
Maybe.
Yeah, who knows, right? Like maybe they'll die next episode, but the implication is that this is going to affect Ironwrath in a major way.
Right.
What did you do with the thief?
I actually played through twice, so I kind of
cheater.
There.
What's your canon choice?
I sent him to the wall.
Yeah, me too.
But, well, I just wanted to give Garrett some company.
What about his family, which didn't even come up before that?
Right. No.
Like,
now
now
with that, we're like, all right, I don't even believe they exist, fool.
Here's what was interesting to me about that choice is you're caught between these three options of just let him go, show mercy, send him to the wall, or cut off his fingers, right? And I was like, well, like I don't want to seem too lenient, but I don't want to be too much of a hard ass because my little sister is over in the corner looking at me the whole time. I'll just send him to the wall. And sure enough, she comes up to me after the end of that decision, and I'm like, oh, here we go. She's going to be so mad that I sent him to the wall, and like now his family's going to starve. And she's like, why weren't you meaner to that guy?
Wow.
I was like, wow, that's super Game of Thrones.
Sam, how about your favorite decision?
So mine is this decision that hasn't had any ripples yet, and that's that when you are playing as Mira and you're in Marjorie's quarters, or there's a kind of a map of the wedding seats, and there's a key on it, and there's a seal, and you can take those. And you presumably can't do anything with them in this game that I could figure out.
Yeah.
But what does that mean for the next game? And it occurs to me like in Chrono Trigger, you can take stuff at the beginning of the game just because you're learning the game, and of course that comes back later when this judge says like, and then you stole the pie. Well, it's like I just pressed A because I said I could at the pie, And so
You're like a child, Sam.
But then I also know that I could be forging stuff maybe with the seal, or maybe I could be breaking in somewhere later. So I didn't know whether to take those so I could have cooler gameplay later, or to leave them because I was a good person.
And that's an interesting thing too, is because Mira is like trying to be prim and proper and pure this entire time, but she also, you know, like the rest of them, has to do something to save her family.
Yep.
And are you going to sub a Tyrion? Are you going to potentially screw over Marjorie? Are you going to lie to the crown? Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite decision was how to interact with Cersei and how far to bend to appease her.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like the way to go is just appease her all the way, but you can also be defiant and just say, screw you.
She was super into me being defiant. She's like,
Yeah.
all right, you do not mess around. I like that.
So it
Oh,
sounds
really?
like
I know
Yeah.
right away. I was such a.
Oh man, no.
Such a baby about it.
No,
Yeah,
I
I
was
was
like,
baby
no,
too.
I'm not doing this. Like,
It
I'm
sounds
standing
like-
up for myself.
It's interesting with her. You can play Sansa or you can play Arya.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And that's
point.
like your choices, you know.
So real quick, do you guys have a least favorite decision? 'Cause I do.
I think we're all kind of unified in the idea that holding, like, why would you ever give up Lord Forrester's secret?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. They didn't give you any reason to want to spill those beans, except just like, well, duh, I forgot.
I
Well,
think,
but his wife does ask you, hey, did he have any last words? I felt like there was a little pressure there, but it didn't mean anything.
but it would have been
really.
really, like, I think it's interesting that he specifically doesn't trust his wife. I think
Right.
that's a really interesting plot point that I hope they explore later. But I almost wish they had given you an incentive, like, to tell the wife. Like, what
yeah.
if she had offered you something, like, for that information?
Like a pie. for example.
Ooh.
And one thing that I thought was interesting is if you do tell the Maester and then you tell Duncan that you told the Maester, he's like, oh, I don't trust him with that information at all.
I also don't
like,
trust that Maester in
Yeah, the
general.
Maester is
Something's up with that
something's up
dude.
with him.
He's too young.
Yeah.
Where's his chains?
So that was our thoughts on Game of Thrones Episode 1, Iron from Ice. Tell us what you think. Weigh in the comments and check out the full review on IGN.com.